St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Got my A's hat on for the only green I had. I had two green hats. I picked this one. I used to have a Mets Shamrock hat for that the New Era hat. They played one preseason game with. What's going on, Amari? And my big head outgrew it. I say it got wet and shrank, but But I like to get another one because usually they wear St. Patrick's Day hats today in preseason. Hey, what's going on, Orlando? What's happening? Orlando making around. Saw you on. I saw that you were on Jeremy Lee's podcast the other night or last week. Hope that went well for you. I don't know how many of y'all saw my Saturday. Probably y'all can't hear me either because I got my mic up in the air. I've been playing MLB The Show all day, baseball, watching wrestling. That's about all I've been doing. And open up some Bowman. I did get a nice hit today out of Bowman. Yeah, last Saturday. I knew it was last weekend. So this kid, Spencer Jones from the Yankees, I guess it's one of their big prospects that they're holding on to. They won't trade him. This is out of 2023, a box of retail I bought at the National. I got a good price on it. Finally gotten around to open it, and I had to redeem it, but we'll see how long that takes to get. So not a bad autograph. I was happy with that. Usually retail, you can get at least one. And I got a blue number to 150 for Kennedy Corona. I haven't looked him up yet to see much on him, what's going on. But I got a nice stack so far of first card chromiums out of it. Just having some fun opening that. I got a few more packs left. I got it to get Drew Jones and hopefully hit a Jackson Holiday. It was probably just as cheap to buy the box of retail as it was buying either one of those cards at the show last year. So just thought I'd have some fun ripping that. I still have not bought any this year. Trying to think. I think I bought a blaster of wrestling one weekend. That's been about it. I mean, I probably will not buy any baseball in my near future. Yeah, that's what I heard. He's kind of a freak, huge man. I actually also have him in a first card as well. Or no, I actually put him in my pile of stuff to be graded. So I did hit the Spencer Jones first regular chromium. You good to go, Mikey, on your walk? He says he don't know. We'll see how he's. So how you doing tonight, Mike?
I'm all right. How are you?
All right. You got sunshine there in Philly today? The Philly area?
It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear.
Okay, we've
Got some, St. Patrick's Day hangout stuff going on. So there's little kids and dogs and stuff making a lot of noise. I figured I'd get in some additional steps, even though I don't really need them today.
Did you get any corned beef and cabbage and potatoes? Because I did.
I did not have any potatoes, but I may have had a sizable amount of corned beef. I absolutely had a ton of cabbage. Had a little Irish soda bread.
Oh, nice.
Got to support that 25% Irishness.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks you're just 100% Polish when you got to ski at the end, but
That's right. Well, it's not pierogies, but
Yeah.
You didn't make it Irish pierogies. You could have put potatoes in it.
Well, now, you'll have the gołąbkis and pierogies once in a while to support the Polish. Not a lot of the German stuff, though.
So, Amar, you think Spencer Jones is going to start out in the Yankees, or is he going to be down? You know
that
anything
dude
about?
Is red hot in the hobby. I know that.
Well, I guess what
I tried to swipe a card at the Philly show and an orange disco refractor, and the guy had it jacked up like $100 higher.
So
what does that say? My screen's small.
Jones Chrome Prospect autograph.
Just a plain?
Yeah, I mean, just a plain one.
Just a plain. It's probably a couple $100.
I don't know if you remember, I bought a box at the National of 2023 retail, and I go, usually, you know,
Retail.
these are sneaky, and I've hit that. I hit a Kennedy Corona out of 150. And all these, I got a bunch of chrome first cards. I got his base card too, Spencer. But I haven't hit a.
Yeah, I saw you showed that.
I haven't had a Andrew Jones or a Gunnar Henderson yet.
I bet that card there is at least $250, maybe $300.
Yeah, so I went ahead and put in my redemption today to hopefully.
It'll come back because I got a redemption of him. I did really good in Bowman, outside of the fact that a lot of the cards are really hard to sell, like the inserts and such.
Right.
Got the Drew Jones orange refractor, which he's not hot at all because there's so many injuries and stuff, but that's still obviously a good card. And the Spencer Jones, I think I got the Speckle refractor or something. I don't know.
But the Derek
and I redeemed
Jones,
that a couple months ago. It came back fairly
Drew
quick,
Jones was the autograph, right?
Yeah, well, they were both autos I got.
Oh, okay, because that's the one that made the front page of SGC, right?
Yeah. I got I mean, it would be nice to see him get healthy and stuff because I actually, from the national packs, I got a super fractor of him. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I got two super fractors in my pack.
I think mine.
It might have been.
Got confused.
I got a Jace Young, the Tigers prospect. I got a super fractor of him, and I sold that one back around the a month after the national. But I saw he was playing in the spring breakout for the Tigers because the Tigers squad played the Phillies.
I got Jace Young too over here somewhere. Can't remember where I put him at the moment. But I got a Josh Young. I love these. I love this insert that they had that year, rookie cards.
Yeah. I mean, Bowman's nice. It's just, I don't know. Bowman's weird because it's too damn expensive. And then it seems like
I got a Caminero today too as well.
It's morphed into a product that is so expensive that the people who rip it are the investing types, and they're only looking for the color refractors and $1,000 and $10,000 cards. And when people don't really open it or expose themselves to it, then they kind of get out of. Like, I feel like it's not collected quite as much as it used to be.
Right. Well, because nobody used to collect or even open Bowman. Like 16, 17, and 18, I felt like that it was always available. You always got it pretty cheap later in the year. It was always marked down, the blasters in the Walmart. You just had to wait it. And then it got, people started prospecting a lot. Not started. The prospecting game changed where the money started getting really, really high. Where people used to, I feel people used to wait for rookie cards and wait for somebody to start doing well before they put money into it. And
now it's just like anybody.
Yeah, it's.
But that's what's so silly about it. Like, you could buy, a guy who's well on his way to the Hall of Fame. You could buy a Manny Machado cheaper than some of these guys who have never played. And Manny Machado is well on his way to being a Hall of Famer.
Well, I mean, I used to say it with Vlad Guerrero's, before he even did anything, his card was more expensive than Vlad Guerrero Sr.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day, 2019, people would be doing breaks and like, I got the wrong Guerrero. I'm like, oh, you got the Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you love those hanger cases, Amari. That's probably the best way to go. You definitely getting color in every pack. You box you open. So, is this week the release of Big League?
27th. So
another week.
Still another week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there, it comes out technically the day before opening day for baseball in America.
So this was the card I was talking about last week. the true photo of Pete Alonso. I got it this week in eBay. This is one that's not numbered, and I'm just telling people, when you see stuff like this and people might realize what they have, you might be able to find it at a decent price later down the road. Two things happen: either they know what they got and they disappear, or they don't know what they got, and you might find because it's not numbered.
Or they know what they got and no one else has got one, and they jack it up to $4,000.
Right. Like I said, I didn't pay an arm and a leg, but I spent my budget for the week on that, especially with the new parallels. Yeah, you really need to look and really see it. And I found, Amari, that even when I look at the list of all the parallels and everything that's supposed to be out there, it's not all out there. I tend to find stuff all the time that I'm having a tough time putting a finger on what it is, or whoever's selling on eBay doesn't know what it is and they're just putting out names. Because I did get caught on one of those this year, shame on me type of deals, where they called it a black. It wasn't black, it just had black in the card, but it was a black out there of another card that I got it confused with. So, there's just so much of it out there, and we've only got really one series of cards.
Yeah, what percentage of top series 1 has been ripped? It's probably a small percentage.
I bet it's a small percentage. I bet.
Because all the big distributors still have cases and boxes available on Walmarts and Targets and all that shit.
Shows, the National, whatever, and there'll be a table full of it at all of the distributors.
Yeah, so
you'll see
it's tough to pull this stuff. The photos. Like I said, I think I pulled 1 in 6 jumbo cases, so they made plenty of it.
And I always I don't hide what I spend. So I spent, my whole thing is on a budget. So I spent $82 for that card. So I feel like I did pretty well. I mean, I have trouble calling Pete Alonso a all-star because he's only in his 5 years. He's only made one all-star team, I think.
But won multiple home run derbies. Just call him a Derby champ.
Derby champ. But he has not started in what's up, Brad? He has not started.
The All-Star game's bullshit anymore, though, because there's too many. I always hear people say, oh, there's more All-Stars than ever. I'm like, yeah, but there's more teams, more representative, all that stuff. Like, you realize Bryce Harper's never played in an All-Star game as a Philly?
Oh, my God. Well, he's been hurt quite a bit.
He's only made one, and the year he made it he was hurt. That was the year he got hit in the face, and he couldn't play.
Well, he's got that.
But he won an MVP, but he didn't make the All-Star game that year.
Right.
But with the position breakdowns and the way they do
outside
everything.
of Philly, you know how people feel. I like you, but I just can't have, what's up, James? Looked at my Topps vintage Alonso. Are you talking about the one that I bid on, or the one? Because I bid on a vintage. Yeah, you're right, Amari. And you'll see when fans voted and was 100% vote. There was places like Cincinnati, San Francisco. Those fans just made sure their people got voted for.
Stuff the ballot box.
Yeah, so
the original rigged elections.
Right, exactly. And there were certain areas. The Braves were pretty good at it too, but their guys should be in the 90s. It's hard to say they shouldn't be. But I remember one year the Giants had their whole infield. It was like Brandon Belt, Crawford, the Panda at third, Sandoval, and I forget who the second baseman. And the second baseman ended up not starting for some reason. and it was really ridiculous. And that was a year like Brandon, like we had David Wright and Zimmerman at third base in that league. Just two guys at that time that Sandoval beat out.
Ryan Zimmerman, man.
Yeah, so
such a good player that is forgotten by so many.
Right.
Probably has very limited hobby, I would think. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even, now that he doesn't play, he's been out, this will be his second year out of the league. I don't even see his stuff out there. My dad thinks he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I think he's going to be.
I mean, I don't know what his career numbers are offhand, but I would think he
doesn't have.
short.
Yeah, I don't think he has any of like the numbers, like hits, home runs. Now is he a Washington / Expos great? Yeah,
100% will be in their, Wall of Fame, Hall of Fame, whatever they call it, Ring of Honor.
Right. I think he'll be outside. Now, I wouldn't be upset if he got in. So
he was one of those guys. I mean, he always
know anywhere he's at.
Not here. It's chilled down now that the sun went down, but I think it was close to 60 today.
Yeah.
I mean, James, a couple hours north, I believe, of where I'm at, but
yeah, I think west as well. So
Zimmerman, I mean, he was just so good against the Phillies. I mean, I saw him a lot going to games and such. I think I was at a game where I think he might have hit a walk-off either grand slam or 3-run homer when I was in Washington one time.
Maury's got a great point. When he hurt his shoulder and couldn't throw across the diamond anymore, and then he went to first, he still could hit. He made.
It's a shame. He was hurt during the World Series year, wasn't he?
Yeah. No. The year they won the World Series?
Yeah.
No. It was.
Did he play every day?
Yeah.
Because Rendon was the third baseman, right?
Yeah, he was playing first at the World
Back
Series.
before Rendon quit.
Yeah, before Rendon quit.
Fucking bum.
Yeah, and that makes me sad because I was a big Rendon fan, and
it's not like some of the things he says, like when he said something about like, oh, my family and my faith are more important. It's like, okay, like I get that, but it's if you just took those words, that's not the way he said it, and he said so much before that. It's like, right. Dude, are you kidding me? Like I've never seen a player get paid and give a shit less than him.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, has he really been hurt as much as he's been out?
Oh, yeah. It's sickening because, one, he's getting paid a lot of money, and two, how many...
you put hands on a fan like that?
Plus I wasn't even thinking about that. He
should have been kicked out. I mean, I don't... you're no longer a baseball player because you're there for... I know fans can... I know stuff I've said. I've not been sane. Yeah. My dad has been bad. I know you've been bad because you went to Philly games and you're a Philly fan. So we all have said things that we probably shouldn't have said. But we're just noise. We're background noise.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't be listening to what we're saying. I mean, I thought Matt Cain was going to come in the crowd after my dad at a Washington Nationals. So, coming off the field, and he got taken out of the game for the Giants. So, and I almost got in a fight with a whole row of Giants fans because that was a year that
probably because you were wearing that Vagabonds hat you're wearing right now.
No, this is my only green. I have a Washington Nationals camouflage Memorial Day hat, but it's not as green as this. So this is I've been wearing.
I didn't even think of the green. I was sitting there in my mind. I was like, "What the hell is he wearing an athletics hat for?"
JD Davis got signed, so I was being happy for JD Davis.
It's such a shame.
One more chance.
I mean, I like watching stuff about the history of the A's. It's just a shame what they've become,
I mean,
great teams back in Philadelphia. Then they went to Kansas City. Obviously, didn't work out. Went to Oakland, worked out really well for a while. Had some dynasties out there, and even growing up when I was, 10, 11 years old.
I don't know if moving to Vegas now is a slam dunk. The mayor of Vegas told him to go back to Oakland.
Yeah, the owner's a jackass. Like, he needs to go.
He wants to build on the Strip, and the mayor said, well, sorry, go back to Oakland. You're not going to tell us where you're going to build.
Because I just don't think it's like I mean, I think the general public probably just thinks it's a crummy fan base, but that's just not the truth. It's a jackass owner,
Right.
and they do play at this point in a dump. Um, you know, the
But
Coliseum might have been a good place at one point.
Oakland
But
offered a few times to have a
yeah.
new state, but we all know we're not. We know Oakland is not the most stable city right now.
No, yeah. I mean,
I
they
mean,
gotta build a new stadium in a decent area and revitalize the area and create
yeah,
something, and that can be done. We've seen
and
it
they
been
could.
done
Yeah,
before.
Washington has done a good job. They're still doing it. It's an ongoing process. It can't be forever.
Yeah.
You're right, James. You can't. It's got to be a forever thing. You can't just put a bunch of money in at the beginning and go, "Oh, we revitalized."
Yeah, but like they highlighted the cheapness of the owner in Moneyball, the movie, and that's a
yeah,
movie based on what 20 years ago,
right,
late
yeah,
'90s. I mean, and it's gotten worse. Like the fact that I mean, I wonder how many players in baseball get paid more a year than the Athletics roster. It's probably a couple. It's certainly a
yeah.
ton.
All right. But then he knew he could go to Vegas, and he knew he didn't want the Oakland to build him a stadium. That's why he put crap teams on the field, so nobody would come out and get to leave. And you can be in Miami and have two decent teams, or in Florida with two decent teams, and still nobody comes out and watches.
And speaking of dumps, by the way, I was watching a few minutes of this time of the year. I'm so excited for baseball. I love just watching old games, and sometimes it'll be recent memory games, like
I think
Phillies
you're right.
postseason games from the last couple years, and other times I'll watch old stuff. I was watching a Montreal Expos Philadelphia Phillies game from September of 1989 today.
Who was the home team?
It was in Philadelphia.
So it was at the
and,
Vet.
And of course, it was one of the last series of the year. You see the lines from the football field. I'm like, oh my gosh, that stadium looks so bad. The Vet. People in Philadelphia love to say, oh, I love the Vet. Like, dude, that place was a dump. I love it too because of the memories, but I'm like, it was a dump. It's ugly looking.
Link people to with those brain tumors.
Yeah, the AstroTurf was terrible.
Yeah,
and whatever was under
about asbestos or something out in the bullpens.
Yeah, well,
so many people. Somebody else now has come up with a brain tumor. I forget who it is now. It's on the tip of my phone. Maybe I don't.
Yeah, well, there's at least 10 examples. So.
Yeah, and I mean that's sad. I had season tickets to Marlins for years, but owners suck. Yeah, Orlando. But last year they had a pretty good team. I gotta say, Miami is better than Tampa for the people that go to games.
At least they have a new ballpark. I've never been there. I'd love to go to a game.
Hold on one second, Mike Hodges. I want to tell you, thank you for your support. I love your messages and everything. It's been awesome having you as part of the community, and thank you very much. I just want to put that out there. Everybody's been great, and I just wanted to say that to Hodges. He's newer. The Rats love the Vet the most. Hey, Reese, too. What's going on? I still need to watch Reese's video.
Damn.
I had it on my wait list.
That's it. Stop what you're doing right now. Take a piece of paper and put it to your to-do list. First of all, just seeing the intro with Richie Ashburn, that music. Sad I only get to see it a couple times a year, and then seeing the cool pickups.
Right.
Telling you, you see that Griffey he bought, you're going to be searching on eBay, adding it to your watch list. Going, damn, I want one of those.
Those 90s cards, I've been looking, but I put my money in the Pete, man, or Gary Carter autographs. And that should be something to
they shine on this card, man. I was like looking at other stuff, and then a corner of my eye, I saw it. I went and looked at it, and I was like, Reese, go look at that. And he looked at it, and then he walked over, and then he looked at it again. He walked over, and then he said, all right, I got to go get it. And I bet he doesn't regret it. It's awesome.
Florida just has too much to do for the population. The reason why spring training is people go to games there is it's a destination. They go there for a week of vacation when it's cold at their
Yeah,
place.
people in the
Watch spring
Northeast
training.
certainly.
They go home.
What
Yeah,
people in the Northeast want to go down to 75 degrees when it's
right.
25.
For somehow that translated to having a good spot for baseball. I mean, even
And the thing
college
is, the
sports
Marlins have been
are
around there
down.
so long by now. They've been around what 30 years,
Yeah,
35. Like, so they should have an established fan base. Like, there should be people who
yeah.
are 10 years old that are in their 40s now. But
I would, because I went to a lot of Nats games early on for the Nationals, and I remember people being in the crowd going, "There's no way that all these people are Nats fans." It's, they're transplant, and I'm sitting there with my Expos hat on, right? And I asked one person, I go, "So you're gonna tell me I'm not a Nats fan? I'm wearing an Expos hat." He just looked at me, and I'm like,
who are the
"What?"
Expos?
Yeah, I was like, but it took a while for the Nats to have a legit fan base. People went to the ballpark to watch baseball,
Yeah.
but early on, they did not have a legit fan
I mean,
base.
that's the thing. Fans will get excited about a team, but for really, really established, that's why you can't compare certain teams, like the Diamondbacks, for example. Their fan base isn't 1/100th of the Philadelphia. Like, I'm just
Right.
speaking on the NLCS, and it's evident by the fact that Phillies tickets for the NLCS were $300, and you could have gotten into Game 3 for like $5.
Right.
And it's just not to say there's not
And
huge
there was a lot
Diamondbacks
of
fans.
Phillies fans at Arizona games.
Oh yeah,
They flew out there. Right.
but like my point is, it's like baseball especially is like a generational thing. Like, I grew up with so many people that I knew that liked like different NFL teams, for example, because the NFL is like you could live anywhere and be a fan of a team. There's so few games; it's so much easier to access. Baseball is one of those things where my whole family we always grew up going out to games. My dad was a huge fan. My grandfather was a huge fan. My uncles, like, it's like more of a family thing. Not to say that's the case all the time, but it's kind of, you're grown into it. And that's how people grow up a Yankees or Mets fan. Some people spawn off, go in a different direction, but I feel like that's where a lot of the passion comes from. And teams like the Diamondbacks, what I have one generation of fans, not
Right.
fans going back to the 1800s.
Orlando, don't forget they had Realmuto, and I mean, they've always had some good talent coming up, and they got good pitching now.
The Marlins always have good players. It's just a matter of keeping them and having enough at one time. But gotta give them credit; they have won 2 World Series, the same number as the Phillies have, and they've been around
Right.
a whole lot less. I don't think they've ever won a division title.
They've won the same amount as Mets have too. I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
So,
They've never won the division. Both times they won the World Series, they were a wild card team.
Well, I mean, that just shows you. I mean, that's why I've been calling since they redid the schedule last year. I just think divisions now are silly. Just have 2 leagues in the top 6 teams. Everybody's playing everybody. You took away the importance of the divisions because now you're playing less divisional games. It just doesn't matter to me what they do. So, but so yesterday, and we've been talking about this a little bit in a couple of our group chats. It's come up a little bit. Zach, it was people from everywhere. When you go to Washington, there's not many people from Washington that live in Washington that go to the games. So you see all kinds of teams, uniforms, and everything. It wasn't
I know you saw a whole lot of Phillies fans back then because the Phillies were great. And
I'll come back to a Philly story here in a minute. So Washington, people that went to the stadium and people that cheered for Washington just because you're at the game and you're going to cheer for a team. When you go, you get vested, and if you're not there to watch the other team, you're there to watch the home team. So people will root for them, and I just remember distinctly people being there like, there's no way these people are actually Nationals fans. And you didn't see a lot of National stuff being worn. Those first couple of years, the Nationals were not very good. So you could get and the reason why people went is because the tickets were cheap.
Especially at RFK.
Well, I went to RFK first for season opener against the Mets. Then I went to the new stadium when they did the season opener there. I can't remember who that was against. I want to say it was the Giants, but I can't remember. They still weren't very good. That was before Strasburg. That was before, they made Strasburg and Harper the next 2-year picks. But it just was a buzz around. And then when they started getting better and they started winning over the fans because they were fan friendly, they were doing things for the fans that made people want to come to the ballpark and be part of what's going on. Baltimore kind of had to redo it over too. I mean, not that they didn't have fans, but this past year they won their fans back from having bad seasons. And why go to game? You go to a Baltimore game and there was a lot more other team fans than there were Baltimore fans at Baltimore games. It wasn't like that this year. So I don't think it was another team per se. It was just you're always going to have haters. And we know you're doing something right when there's haters around. But my Philadelphia thing is, so I had a personal ticket agent, I don't know what else to call her, that I would deal with for my tickets. I bought so much single tickets. I was going to be a season ticket holder. So I was trying to get that because they were doing a deal before I got laid off that you could buy 4 season tickets and get 4 for free. That's how bad the Nationals were. So me and my dad were going to split the cost, sell some. We were going to, Nationals were playing the East that year. So the Yankees and Red Sox were hot. You could just make your money back in those 2 series and go for a rest. And we were going to rent an apartment up there and make money off of being ticket flippers. But it felt
Wesker Griff, no.
Yeah. But it was funny talking to her. She tells me, so this is because Washington and Philly is not that far away from each other. You could not buy a Washington Nationals ticket through their ticket office if you are a resident of the Philadelphia area. If it came up a Philadelphia or a Pennsylvania address on your credit card or whatever, it would get declined. How's that?
They weren't a fan. Well, at one point it was nicknamed Citizens Bank Park South by some of the Phillies fans. So yeah. I don't think they liked it because they were trying to establish, the team. Well, there were some big games that were probably 25,000 Phillies fans there. I was down there when they won the division. They clinched the division. I want to say it was 2010. I think 2010 was in Washington. I don't know, either 10 or 11. And I was there. Halladay threw a complete game. It might have been 2010 because that was his first year with the Phillies.
Right. So here's the interesting thing. Battery said ESPN did the math last season. If you took the 2 teams with the worst records in the MLB and added them playoffs, there was a 10% chance they would reach the World Series. It's about getting hot at the right time. The Diamondbacks got hot at the right time last year. They couldn't pull it out, but they got hot.
The thing is, baseball goes from one extreme to the other because now there's more teams, which, is fun. I love watching the postseason and such. And, it does bring excitement. It brings excitement all through September, the playoff chase, but it does make it so difficult. Whereas back in the day, it's like it was ridiculous how long it was the 2 pennant winners made the World Series. have some years where the games didn't mean shit for the last, month of the season.
Yeah, James, this is a great point. We strayed off this point with me and my dad. It's be out tomorrow. A little shameless plug. He was talking about right now that 6 teams right now are over the tax for this season coming up, and so if they said if 2 teams would give Scott any 2 teams that give Scott Boras what they want for Snell and Montgomery, they would be over the tax too. And that's why teams won't do it. They don't want to go over that tax. But there's teams out there like the Pirates, like the A's, that make their money off of that tax. And they just don't put it back into teams. And James, you're exactly right. I wish there was a committee or something that looked into that and really did something with owners in baseball to make sure, that you're doing what you're supposed to do to be competitive, to pay the players.
Pirates.
I said the Pirates, A's. There's teams, every so often teams tank on purpose. We know that Houston did it. I think Baltimore did it for a few years.
I don't have a problem if you're bad and you want to cut your payroll for a couple of years and you want the young guys to play and you're developing and you're really trying. I have no problem if you take a year or 2 or 3 to do that. And the Phillies did that, back for maybe a couple years, and their payroll was never like bottom 3 or 5, but they were way lower than they are now.
Was it 50s, 60s, and 70s? Is that when they did that?
No, I'm talking like 2015, 16, where it's like, because you need to do something to get better. But these teams are just like the Pirates it's ridiculous. They had those 2 years where they made the playoffs, and that at this point was closer to 10 years ago than not. And outside of that, it's like, do something at some point. You had a new stadium. Your stadium is borderline old now. It's probably like 30 years old. Like, what are you guys doing?
Right.
You're collecting money from people across the street. James and me are paying for your fucking stadium, and you don't put a freaking team on the field.
Well, me and you were talking. I don't know if we were on the channel or not. Where like, I am old enough where Atlanta. It was on the show that Atlanta's had 3 stadiums in my lifetime. That to me is crazy. And other places haven't done anything, but the Pirates had one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful ballpark in all of baseball.
And such a rich history and so many great players. And it's just like their gift to the fans is to bring Andrew McCutchen back at the tail end of his career. And I'm sure it's great. And it was cool to see him back in a Pirates uniform, but like, do something, commit to it, draft well, do all that, develop players, and sign some guys. You can, develop a bunch of players, and every now and then you get lucky and do well, like the Orioles, who pretty much homegrown built it and had all these prospects kind of, hit the scene last year at once, and they won 100 games. Like, doesn't happen often. You need to develop some guys and then bring in some guys, make some clever trades. It's ridiculous.
Amari, I like his. I guess he's thinking like in soccer, if your team falls below a certain point and another team in another professional league that goes better, like bring over a Korean team or a Japanese team.
Start elevating some of these AAA teams.
Yeah. Independent team out there somewhere.
I mean, that is a problem with baseball. Like, I don't know if they need a salary cap because they kind of have a cap with the tax. Like you can go over the tax, but it does hurt you because it's beyond just paying. Once you get to a certain level, not only do you pay on top of it, like when you go over the luxury tax or whatever the hell it's called, for the first time, it's a small percentage. But when you go over the next tier and then the third tier, that's when you pay a higher percentage. So it's costing you more money, but then you start actually losing pool money for the overseas signings, and you forfeit draft picks and stuff. And I know that's a thing with the Phillies where they're approaching that top tier thing.
Well, that's
where they're not going to, because people keep talking about, Blake Snell. I'm like, they're not going to sign Blake Snell even to a 1-year deal, you lose, draft capital to sign a guy who might
Right.
not be ready till May for 1 year. It makes no sense unless you absolutely need it.
Well, that's the Mets. That's why I'm pretty sure they didn't sign anybody. They still got 2 contracts on their books that they're paying for to put them over last year.
But my point was they absolutely need a floor. There needs to be a tax where if you're spending under 100 million, there's severe penalties.
If you make a hard cap, you're going to have a floor. That's the way it is in football and basketball, and hockey. So hockey's one of the toughest ones.
You can certainly compete and play competitive baseball with the smaller payrolls, but it's not sustainable. The Rays have been people like to talk about the Athletics because they had the movie made about them, and obviously they had a nice run there. But the Rays are by far the best example of being consistently competitive because it's always a different team every 2 or 3 years. And
you can put your money into scouting and development, and it's not nearly as much money as in going out and getting free agents, right?
But as we see with the Rays, much like the A's, they've been in it. They've been in the playoffs now. The Rays have at least made a couple World Series, but they've never won it. So it's very difficult.
Right. Battery, the Atlanta city government pushed the Braves out of downtown, and I'm curious. So did they tear down the last stadium and make parking lots? Because that's the big thing now in cities, because it generates money. And if it's paid parking, you know what I'm saying? Like it just generates so much capital and it's low upkeep. So that's wondering that. And politicians are dipshits. Yes, sir, they are. But I just want to get on. This is a card. Is a cardboard.
Oh yeah, we going to talk about cards at all?
We're going to talk about cards. Me and you.
Now,
and I think
now that we're in the last 15 minutes.
Georgia State took Turner Field and turned it into a college football stadium. Oh, okay. Well, Georgia State's actually been playing well in football here lately, so good for them. Oh, thank you, Lamari. So here's my thing. Well, if it's Georgia State, it's also state run. But my whole thing is with this. So the thing about it's always in our hobby is about people tampering with cards, especially with older cards, making them better, making them look better. We know what's happening. We know we know some of the culprits. They make videos doing it. They show you how to do it,
and they get recognition for it. So,
and that's my next
step.
They do it. It's like, okay, we know it happens. Okay, we don't have a legislative branch that can do anything about it, but we know it's collectors. But now it's this thing where people that we have put on these, that Ed Wesker always talks about, putting on pedestals and made somehow the authority of the hobby, they're coming on their channels and they're not questioning them about it. They're almost applauding them for it. I mean, am I getting this wrong? Am I looking too far into it? What do you think? Should we be giving these people a microphone on other established channels to say, we're almost saying it's okay to do this? What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
It's kind of tough because you want people to be aware of it, because I guess some people probably aren't aware of it. But at the same time, you don't want to encourage more people to get involved in it. Right. You don't want people to start using their services. You don't want to help them gain notoriety, which, can put dollars in their pocket. So it is tough. But, there's different lines and there's different reasons to do things. Like, I hear some people that are over the top stringent. Oh, you can't touch anything. If you touch a Chrome card and you put a fingerprint on it, I see absolutely nothing wrong with taking a microfiber cloth and wiping the fingerprint off. It didn't come out of the pack with the fingerprint. But if you're sitting there trimming edges and stuff like that, that's obviously that's an actual alteration of the card.
So here's Paul. How you doing tonight, Paul? You see the BGS thing today. Guy submits a card at the Dallas show for walkthrough. Gets graded altered. Grades altered. Sells it. Next guy does the same and gets a 9. Original guy asks for a refund from BGS, said LOL no. So the same card gets altered, and then another guy submits it and gets a 9. So there you go. And the thing is like everybody wants to jump on all these grading companies. I'm sorry. I'm kind of with card Big Scott card cleaning. Yeah, I feel like what Peter said. If it's nothing left behind, it's hard to see. Unless they, cut a jagged edge where they can see it with a black light and all that stuff. But man, stuff is going to get by them. These people know what they're doing. It's not like they're
it's not a foolproof. It's just like anything in the
right.
Anything subject to miscalculations or being incorrect. Right. Like it's just going to happen. You just want it to happen as little as possible. No different with autograph authentication and stuff like that. I've seen examples where someone's gotten something signed in person. They know with 100% certainty that it's authentic. Of course, the person authenticating it doesn't know because everyone says their stuff's authentic. And they can't pass it for one reason or another. And that could be even the guy signing having a bad day and does a sloppy, crummy signature,
Just wants to get through it and get it over with and go home. I just, and even if your stuff is not even graded, doesn't mean it's not altered because, just making it look a little better sells better.
I was gonna say, you and me talked about it. I'm pretty sure it was in a private conversation last week or two. But maybe not you or me, but maybe our parents or longtime friends altered cards by accident because they put them in screw downs, put them a little too tight, left them in there for 30 years. It can alter the card. Doesn't mean it was intentional.
Look, these kids colored on them. My dad had colored on his, wrote on them,
drew mustaches.
Right. And they put them in books, but they didn't know what they were doing. These people know what they're doing. I like what Battery put here. And knowing Battery, this is probably a tongue-in-cheek little thing here. What everyone seems to miss about Kurt's card care is that he removed impurities from his stuff so that you could use them safely without altering the card. What? Yeah, so, you're wetting them, cornering them, whatever you're doing. Yeah, I did too, Mookie. I hope I ate my corned beef. And, I'm with you there too, Battery. I wish these young people, when they went to their rookie orientation that every league does about being a rookie and about finances and how to treat the fans and how they're supposed to act when they're playing their sport, they tell them, learn how to autograph, or at least I know who was autographing it somehow. I think that is such a big deal. I forget who it was that used to critique as other players if they didn't sign.
Harmon Killebrew, I think, I think he yelled at Michael Kadire and someone else, and then Michael Kadire, one of the most beautiful signatures in baseball for years after that. It was at one of those charity signings. He said, "I'm not going to keep signing if you guys sign like crap." So
right. Kadire, Virginia person. I
used to like Michael Kadire a lot. Really good player. And then he,
at
the end of his career, went to the Rockies, where players' careers go to vanish.
Yeah, because I didn't want to talk much on that tonight about alterations because it's been, since the first pack was open, somebody has altered a card, right?
Yeah, but the guy's doing it with the high-end cards or the certain vintage cards and going over the top to the chop shop or soaking them and flatten them out. Obviously, stuff like that to me is basically a mortal sin when it comes to the hobby. When you have, you know, a 60,
Uh,
70-year-old card and you're doing that
right.
much to increase the value. But unfortunately, it's happened. And my solution is collect vintage the way it's supposed to be collected. Beat the shit because, you know, it's a
This
60,
this is
70, 80-year-old card.
this is not a very true or logical statement. I'm sorry to say that, KC Card Connection, because uh, most card, because if a corner's ding, it's not going to be a 10. It starts losing number value. Touching the surface, wiping it off to get your finger juice off of it is not altering the card. We know what altering the card means. So if you do have a corner ding on accident and you wet it and put it in a book or something to straighten it out, that is an altered card. If you color or make it brighter, like the old art cards, or color in paper loss,
Got
that
some
is altering the
71s with dark black borders. I think
right.
the grading companies will catch that one.
Right. Let's see. What's another big? Oh, just taking off whatever little bit that you have with whatever laser cutter you have. That is altering the card. Uh, Taking chemicals to the card to brighten it up, to color it up, to bring the shyness out. Guess what? After I work with chemicals every day, after a while, those chemicals run out, or you have to refresh that. So the dullness will come back after the chemicals go away. That's what CLR is for shining up your silverware. If you ever use that on your silverware to get the browning tarnishing off your silverware, it's going to look great, magnificent. And then 6 months later, you got to do it again because the air and everything, the chemical has worn off and the tarnishing is back. So that's how that works. So you might brighten it up to get it through the grading system, but as soon as it gets through there, I know the plastic is airtight and this, that, and the other, but that chemical will wear off over time. Yeah, and I mean, we know what the difference is. But I appreciate you coming on and giving us your thought. And I'm not downing you for that. It's just how two different people look at things.
I mean, for the most part, if you're altering a card for your collection and you just really want to take a old Mickey Mantle and draw a mustache on it because that's the way you want it, like there's not really anything wrong with it. I think most people would think that was foolish, but that's what you want. That's what you want. Obviously, the issue is people are doing this stuff with the intent of basically defrauding people and substantially increasing values on stuff. So
Nice battery.
That's obviously the main issue.
Paul, I don't think it is unless you don't take it off very well and you damage it, because it's going to be, my thought is, the protector is there to protect it, so taking it off isn't altering it. I think leaving it on, I leave it on to keep it protected. I didn't grade it that way.
What are you talking about? The Finest? The old
Finest? Yeah, the Topps Finest.
I've always, in the past, I actually peel it if I'm getting it graded because I don't like the way it looks. It looks better without it. And also, but they're also cards that I don't. I mean, it's for my collection, so I don't care. I want it to look as good as it can, but I understand why people leave them on. I'm sure there's a slight premium if you have the original coating on.
If you alter the card, I have to read this to myself, Casey. I'm not a very intelligent person. I have to absorb. If you alter the card by accident, it's still altered. If you try to fix the corner ding you made, it's altered. Yes, you did drop if you drop a card and it dings, is it altered? Sure it is, but it's a noticeable alteration if you do it, and it's noticeable. So when it's graded, it's graded accordingly. But if you fix it and it gets through with that quarter ding being fixed, and you don't, it's a moral issue at that point, right? Yes, it's fixed. It's been restored, however you want to do it. But we're not, that's what I said in my thing yesterday. We're not talking about art. These cards are not art. There are art cards, but they're not
They're
art.
works of art, but they're not art.
Not to work, but I like to keep watch what I'm saying because art can be restored. We know it's restored. It's done all the time. These are not going to museums. They're going into my house, which can be a museum.
I don't know, man. It's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is just a museum, is what.
That's right. Baseball Hall of Fame. I take it back. It does go into museums because it's in that.
No, it's all depends on
York.
every hobby or whatever, has its set of rules. And in the rules of trading cards, it's always been frowned upon to restore and alter things. Whereas in other things, it's encouraged or, accepted.
So I collect, I've been saying sports cards is my main. Collecting video games and other stuff is my side piece. I collect video games where you can collect the game, the cart, the box, all the
hats that come with the game.
That's right. Everything can come separately. You put it together, you can fix everything, make it look brand new. Nobody cares in that world. They actually like it because you've restored it to its back. You can take apart the cartridge, clean it. I know how to do it. I have all the tools to do that. Comic books, same thing. But you can't color in the color books to help some of the things. It's just our hobby. That's the way it is. And but it's gonna get by, Casey. And I've always said, I can't say I know and then say probably. Most likely, everyone that collects for any amount of time has some kind of altered cards. And we know, I think my definition of what altered is in our collection. I don't care because I can't notice it. But at the end of the day, if I do
theoretically, that the card's altered as soon as Topps prints it, and then they cut it.
Right. But I mean,
or the lady at the Walmart in a bad mood throws your pack in the bag and alters all the corners on it.
Right. But if I know that it's been altered, that's where my thoughts change, and it's a moral issue, ethical. Letting people know after me, hey, this card's been altered. Look, my friend at work, my boss, he's also a friend. I've gotten 2 Gretzky's through Mike graded at SGC. One come back as size not met, and one came back evidence of trimming. Well, he was all upset because he took it out of a pack straight into. I took the screw downs, and the screw downs were old as crap. They were yellow and everything. But you know which one's going to sell better is going to be the one that says minimum size not met, opposed to the one that says trimming, evident trimming. But he won't hide it. He'll sell it like he'll still get good money for it. It's still a Gretzky rookie. But it's an ethical thing at that point. I think it's up to each person. I just think it should be brought out to the open. And like I said, I'm pretty sure, I've been collecting cards since 1974. Shoot, I've even colored on them as a kid, right? I have altered cards, most likely in my collection. I don't care because I don't know. I don't see them. Out of sight, out of mind. Ignorance is bliss, whatever you want to call it. But if I did know, I wouldn't. I might still have it, but I wouldn't sell it to somebody else without telling them. If that makes any sense, and I know I talked around a circle, and I'm probably getting people bored with this is dumb shit. So, Casey, that's where I'm at. It doesn't upset me. What upsets me is
people getting notoriety and selling card cleaning and altering kits.
Right. That's a little upsetting when you're teaching people how to skirt the system. But for each his own. That is a moral and ethical issue for yourself. I know where I stand. Casey, if I saw you, I would not be upset. I shake your hand. You're a fellow collector. We just look at things differently. That's it. Right? Am I wrong on that one, Mike? I mean,
of course, like anything out there, people are going to have a different point of view. So
he's not Cap Anson. Let's see. Did they figure out why those finest cars were turning green back? Yeah, it was the chemicals in the chromium making process. Like I said, that chemicals break down. I actually make legal drugs. That's my job on a daily basis, and we have to have a retain. When we make a final, we keep a retain, or every step of the process, we keep a retain sample that goes into a lighted, non-lighted cabinet. And after so many years, they retest it just to see how long before it starts breaking down. It's just a fact. So that's just the way it is. What are our thoughts on cars that were in screw downs? Is it unintentional damage to the card, altering the card, or both? It's unintentional because he was upset, like my boss. He was upset because he didn't know any better. It was 1979. He was a kid. That's all they had, right?
That might have been the best way to do it, unless you put it in a book or something, because otherwise they got stuck in rubber bands or shoe boxes and got beat the hell anyway.
And, I mean, he was willing. He has all the cards he opened. He was like, I got all these other ones. I'll bring them to you. They're all the same. And I was like, dude, I know. I know that year is notorious for all different kinds of things. Those cards, if you have a 10, you have a pretty good high six-figure card. If they're tough cards. Also, should dealers have to disclose it was in a screw down if they sold it to you raw? No, I don't think so. I think that's going.
They might not even know. Someone could have had it in a screw down for 30 years, taking it out.
Now, would it be cool if they did? Yeah, it would be really cool. But I don't know. Is it ethical to sell a PSA 9 after it earned an 8 in the prior submission? No, because grading is subjective. If you're comfortable, the buyer. That's why I don't buy I don't buy low graded cards or raw older cards, 50s, 60s. I used to say vintage, but I keep forgetting that vintage includes like 70s and now to some people 80s. And I hate that because that makes me vintage.
Vintage collector, vintage Big Scott 35.
Yeah, so when
been collecting since my time on Earth began.
Yeah, it would. That is just okay. I'm fine with that, Casey. I love it. I love the back and forth, the dialogue. I would love to have you on if you want to come on. You can find me on Instagram and message me, and we can talk anytime you want to, brother. Brothers in the hobby, man. That's the way I see it. And battery ethics. One's ethics and morality are subjective as well. They're gonna depends on the situations and all that stuff. That's so for me. That's the way I look at it. I know I don't want to get into a logical discussion and philosophy because I'll lose. I don't want to get into all that. But that's my feelings on that. Kamikaze sport cards, marijuana. I don't know what that's pertaining to, but probably if I knew that was going on, I have more understanding of what's going on tonight. I'm just giving you questions to answer. I'm indifferent on the whole situation. If you are trimming your card, that's obviously wrong. I think a lot of the other
is a big gray area. Yeah, yeah, and that's where one's own issues come into play. I agree with you 100%. Uh, oh, thanks, Casey. Welcome to the channel, man. I don't think I ever saw you comment before. Uh, love the input you've had tonight, man. Love it. Yeah, Amari, I have done the same. I have done it twice. I did it on a Freddie Freeman that me and Triple Crown both agreed that we could not understand. They got a 6, a rookie, and me and him both. I looked it over before I sent it. He looked it over before he sent it in, and then he looked over it, came back, and then I cracked it and looked over it because if you've ever sent cards to anybody, the phantom fingernail imprint comes into play sometimes that is not. I don't have fingernails, so I think it's when somebody's taking them out. Sometimes that fingernail gets in there, and then you got a damaged card. Yeah, I just I thought it was interesting, and it did just people. First off, if you've watched my channel at all, in case it's just the first night, I've always questioned just because you're on YouTube doesn't make you a know-it-all about anything. Anybody can turn on a camera, face it at their face, and start talking. It takes time and things you say to make me feel comfortable that, most of the time I'm just sharing what I love about the hobby. And also, I feel the same way that we put these people on pedestals, and for what reason, I don't know. And all of a sudden, they're the know-it-alls of the hobby or the community, and they get these huge followings. And if you say anything in their comments or ask a question, you get bombarded by their followers. And then all of a sudden you're not just, then they put somebody on that maybe they should be asking questions instead of celebrating what they're doing. And that's what it kind of feels like what they're doing. That's just me. And that's it. Evening, Scott, to answer your question, the hobby is alive. If it wasn't, these questionable things wouldn't be worth the effort. Hey, Dom, smart words from a young man. That's very well put. And I've said, Dom, the hobby being alive or dead, that's a personal feeling as well. I haven't understood that statement. Usually when somebody says the hobby's dead, it's somebody selling cards and they got stuff that it's either gone
The
down.
hobby is dead. The hobby is dead for Kyle Lewis. The hobby is dead for, I would say Wander Franco, but his stuff actually sells shockingly well. I mean, it's at a 99% discount, but the hobby's dead in very limited areas. The hobby is certainly alive and well if you've attended a card show, at least a bigger card show recently, or, watched,
and that's perfectly
certain things and seeing how excited people are.
Now, I don't want to tell you, KC, or anybody listening, I'm not an authority. You do what you want. For me, that seems perfectly legit, right? Crack it, wipe it off, send it back. If you want to pay twice, go for it. I mean, because most likely, supposedly, all these companies say fingerprints don't take away. But we all know better than that, right? I think we do. So that's why we all have our little cloths and we wipe them off before, especially chromiums. I'm a little. Me too. I am just a guy that likes to talk. That's why I one day turned the camera on and faced it at my face. So, yes, I try to learn something every day in this world, no matter hobby, outside of hobby. But yes, I'm always learning. I'm always can tell you I'm this many
today old that I learned this. Kyle Lewis, yeah. And it seems like Galvin Lux, his hobbies did too. So
He at least is on a big league roster and might actually play this year. Kyle Lewis is, I think, in the unemployment line still, along with Blake Snell and a few of these other guys.
Hey Dom, did you notice I have 2 pitchers I picked and both of them are hurt? So Gary Perez and Garrett Cole. At least Garrett
Big
Cole.
Scott 35, man. You need to stop being the A's. You got to start investing in your team. You got to hire a medical team to do some examinations before you make these high draft picks.
I just got back in a hobby 2022 thanks to Bobby Witt. Opened in the 80s and 90s as a kid. Yeah. So you're a little younger than me. Bobby Witt, I could see why that would get you back. He is the new Mr. Baseball. I'm so glad KC signed him. I think he fits that George Brett type of face of the team mold. I'm sure Kansas City fans are happy to have him. I would love
It's
to have
nice
him
to see, a face of a franchise, especially.
Bobby Baseball, yeah.
That's what I like to see. That's why even, not exactly the world's biggest Mets fan, but I want Pete Alonso to re-sign with the Mets. You want guys to spend lengthy portions of their career with one team.
So the owner today tweeted, now that you said that a deal will not be done with Pete Alonso in 2024. So, and I think that's another reason why some of Boris's guys are not getting signed, because there's some really, really big names coming out next year that's going to have big contracts. The long-term Soto, Pete, they both could do 10-year deals with somebody. So that's probably going to happen.
Well, that's the problem right now.
And I think KC is, Amari. If you look at, they got Pasquatch back. The first
Pascatino?
Pascatino. He might get comeback player of the year. That's one of my choices for. He is awesome. If you watched him in the World I first saw him in the World Baseball Classic with Italy, and he played well in that. And then he started the year. I hope they keep on with that Sasquatch in the outfield when he's up or gets on base. Yeah, Alonso's a Boris guy. I feel like that dude can he's a big man, but he's not just a power hitter, and he's got good feet at first base too. I was a first baseman after I stopped catching, so I love watching first baseman with good feet. I used to play like Keith Hernandez, so, and then I love Galarraga.
Andres Galarraga probably deserves more consideration for the Hall of Fame than he ever got.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying he should or shouldn't be in, but
the big cat.
His numbers are pretty good. I think they're somewhat comparable to a guy like Todd Helton. I don't know. I'd have to double check, but
yeah, I've heard that. KC, he's a funny dude as well. But they also in the minors have some good guys coming up. If they can get a couple of pitchers, but if they can sign a couple of those guys, and I know KC, they're one of those teams that could be good for 2-3 years, and they just can't sign everybody. That's what happened with their last World Series team. Hopefully they can put together. KC's a fun. They're one. I like watching them. I've always liked Perez. You got a catcher that's going to probably be a first ballot.
And honestly, I wouldn't flat out count them out this year. I don't know that I would expect it, but it's not like you got world beaters in that division. You have good franchises like Cleveland, who puts a competitive team on the field most years, the Twins as well, but it's kind of an open division.
So Kamikaze, I never caught a true knuckleballer, but a guy I played with threw a knuckle curve. And all that did was just dip really hard. In high school. So Dr. Exclusive, we can, because it's funny. The guy I talked to about it is right here. Scott, can we hear a little more about your planned trip to Cards HQ in Atlanta that you mentioned in your last video? Me and Mike talking earlier this week while he was doing his daily walk, since I've been off in the evenings, and I don't know, Mike. We were tossing around maybe you flying down, driving to Atlanta, and
Yeah, there's a few different scenarios. There's always an opportunity. Like I could fly to Atlanta and get picked up. I could fly to, the Carolinas and we could take a road trip. It's always possible. I would love to see an Atlanta Braves game.
yeah.
As someone who has the, bucket list goal of visiting every ballpark, I've kind of been stuck on that since pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Tend to take some trip at the end of July every year that's gotten in the way as well. And, Atlanta, it's not that far from you. It's a stadium I've never been to. And, there's a giant card shop there. So it's not like, I'm always game for just going to a ball game. But I like to see an area. I like to see different things. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Probably wouldn't be, a crazy pricey trip if you did things right.
And then hopefully we could hook up with this guy and we'll go to the game and hang out with him for a little bit. Show us the lay of the land.
Yeah. And then we get beat up in Atlanta because then he starts yelling, "Hey, I'm with a Mets fan and a Phillies fan."
We'll do the chop with you. Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Maybe we can get Wesker Griff to go since he's a Braves fan.
Right.
Right. / Nationals fan.
I would love to go to the Braves. I would love to make it a night that Spencer Strider is pitching or whatever. I would like to go at night because it's hot in the summer there. And, I don't care who they're playing. I want to see Austin Riley play as well. And I like to see Acuna, that whole team, Acuna and Albies.
I mean, I've seen enough of those guys at Phillies games, but at the same time,
I haven't.
It'd be cool to see him in that.
I haven't seen a Braves team. I went to Baltimore. Shoot, I bet you it's been 15, 16 years ago for an interleague game. And that was the last time I'd seen Atlanta play.
I was actually thinking about this sometime recently, just thinking back on some old games I saw, and even during the winter here, especially once football's over, I start getting in that baseball gear, and I love just putting on old games. Watch the games, watch the old games too.
Yeah, you sent me that video of the A's, Philadelphia A's and Phillies. That was an awesome video.
But I'll watch this old random games, and I'm not going to sit there with popcorn with my feet up and watch 3 hours of an old game. I just don't have that kind of time. In a perfect world, I guess it'd be awesome. But I'll have it on next to me while I'm working on stuff, and it's just fun. And I was watching the '96 All-Star game, which I was lucky enough to attend as a kid. And
third party tickets are always available. You just got to be able to pay for them.
You go to the right games, you can usually figure something out. I mean, I know for the Phillies, you ever want to go to a Phillies game and save money, you go when they play, the freaking Rockies or even the Marlins, teams like that, where there's no visiting fans and midweek, stuff like that.
Right.
But I was watching that '96 All-Star game and just be like, damn, I was so lucky I got to see Ozzie Smith and Cal Ripken and Tony Gwynn. But, the National League guys I had seen at a lot of games in the past growing up. But the American League guys, that's back before interleague was, what it is now. And it was just, got to see all these Hall of Fame guys. I just regret that some of the greats, I think Ken Griffey was hurt that year. And Frank Thomas, I think, was there, but I don't think he played in the game because he was hurt. But it's cool. You want to see greats. So 20 years from now, you can say, "Hey, I saw." So these guys from these fantastic Braves teams.
Yeah, because listening to this, I'm very envious. This is what I talked about in my last video. I have not seen. I've never went to saw Ken Griffey play. I never went to saw Frank Thomas play. I never saw Gary Carter play in person. And I look back and
I saw Gary Carter play in person.
I had every chance to go, probably as growing up, a young adult, but I chose to do other things, and that's why I've been I would rather go see these guys that I love watching play, see them in person. And why do I want to see them in person? Because it's a different, watching on TV is so two dimensional. Going to see it in person just brings it just to life. I mean, without using a better word, the sounds, the aromas, the field. I tear up when I enter a stadium because it's my church, man. Uh, it's everything I've always wanted. Is ball fields. It's been my sanctuary, and that's I'm choosing to do more of that now as I got older. Last year, I say it's stupid, but going to the Hall of Fame really changed me in some ways, to the sport and as a person. But it's just that's the way how I feel about it. So, uh, and you brought up some great, making me see clearer why people buy vintage. Well, okay, I didn't watch a play, but I watch video, I read books. That's awesome because that's why I buy them. And
You know what I was listening to the other day, driving, looking for stuff to listen to. I went on my phone and found a radio broadcast from, I think it was 1966, Mets Phillies, last game of the year. Tug
right,
McGraw was starting for the Mets. Richie Allen had a RBI double in the first inning and got thrown out at third trying to advance.
right.
I listened to a couple innings of that game. It was so fun. I'm like, this is awesome. I can't believe someone saved this audio tape.
Let's see. I've been to 3 Braves games while my daughter sang the national anthem with her school choir. Is that the beginning of your video? Is that the music you're playing? Beginning of your video, Carlo? Amari, kind of jealous of Mid-Atlantic teams. You have plenty of options again. Amari, I don't know where you live. I lived also in the middle part, and I did not take advantage of living out there in Iowa. I was about 5 hours from 5 different ballparks and didn't go to one game, and had 3-day weekends. Scott's the only person with an A's cap I've seen that wants to buy tickets to a game. A's fans want to. They just want to be able to see a team worth watching. Okay, that's cool. That makes that y'all need to go watch this guy. The opening now makes sense. Love that, Carlisle. Great. Paul, great question. Find yourself collecting more vintage after going to the Hall of Fame? Yes and no. And what do I mean by that? And I'll tell you. So I am more interested in Hall of Fame and actually purchasing it, but I only purchase older vintage cards in person because I only have selected funds, and usually my grades are lower, and I'm trying to get the best grade for the best price with the best looks that I can get. So usually at shows, we have some pretty good shows down here that have quite a bit of vintage. When I go to the CSA in Northern Virginia, that's a good show for vintage because I believe it's a lot of the same dealers that are at the Philly show, and I could tell from last mail day or pickups that he made. Mike,
1,000 views on that video. Shocking. It's like the old days of Miko.
It was some great that stuff. Those pictures, I told you what I would do with them. Put them. I would have them up. They're awesome. I couldn't put those away. So I am more interested in looking, but I do it more in person. When I go to card shows now, it's more for vintage. I buy modern on eBay. I don't know if that clears up anything or I don't know, but that's the way I do it. But I'm very picky when it comes to what vintage I want, and I stick with one player, and I try to get as much as I can, like Clemente. That I keep saying Clemente, but I do have Johnny Bench runs. I have the whole Gary Carter run.
And if
I
you
think
count
one
the
of my
teams-
future goals is going to be to bully Big Scott into doing a project that I never did that I always said I wanted to do. And that way you'd have an example from every year that, say, Topps put out or something. You pick up one Hall of Famer from
well,
each
see,
set.
I'm
That way
not.
you have some Hall of Famers and you have examples from every set.
Well, it's funny you said that because I have decided. I decided a few years back, and this was actually when I bought up the Joe Tinker 207. Did I say that right? Is that the right name, Tinker? Um, I wanted a, a a player in every set that is well known, and because my Mets don't go far enough, so I have to pick up So I'm trying. You sent me a catcher card, so I'm picking
For
up
your Phillies PC.
no for my catcher PC. So I do have. So I look for catchers, like for the play balls or a Gowdy or something, because and it's I would love to pick up Yogi Berra or something like that, but let's be real. So I have to be smart about what I'm getting, because I did pick up the Yogi from you, and I right here Yogi standing right beside my man Gary Carter and Fisk and
You got the Yogi Berra Mets cards?
yes.
What was he, 62 or something? I forget.
Yeah, and then he's got a manager's card. Let's see. Let's go through these. I went to school on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, Philly, Baltimore, and D.C. were day trips to New York and overnight trips. Only visited Camden Yards, though. I threw a knuckler in high school. Catcher was smiling from ear to ear every time he flashed four fingers.
I threw a knuckleball in the bullpen at Citizens Bank Park.
Oh, dude. When I pitched, my dad would say he knew when I was throwing a curveball because I would smile. Because I had a pretty wicked. I had two different, more of a slider, and then I had a 12-6. But my fastball was flat and could get crushed, so I never pitched for real. But I did in summer league ball. I've seen the Braves play in Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Toronto. So 7 stadiums if you include the 3 in Atlanta. Yeah. So I've only been to 4 stadiums that for Major League Baseball, and that's criminal. I feel like as much
I think
as
I've been to 27. I mean, obviously a few duplicates, like
right.
2 different Mets stadiums, 2 different Phillies, 2 different Yankees.
I've never been to a Mets game, and I always plan it, and then I just don't go. And I'm trying to change that. I look at how because they have like right at the field.
I've
like,
never been to a Mets game either. I've been to Phillies games that the Mets were participating in,
but you've been to Shea or City, right?
Yeah, I was at both of them. I didn't like Shea. I thought Shea was one of the worst stadiums I was ever in. I mean, I'm sure for people who that was their childhood.
I think
It's the same thing as the Vet. I think the Vet was a shithole, if I'm being honest.
Right. So,
but City Field is obviously, really nice. Went to City Field and saw R.A. Dickey pitch a 1-hit shutout. That might have even been like Sunday Night Baseball. I don't even remember. I think Cole Hamels had the only hit in the game for the Phillies.
I remember that. I think I remember that game.
Yeah, that game sucked. That game sucked if you have, took a couple-hour train ride to New York and, saw that.
Well, that was the year. Is that the year that Dickey's last year with the Mets, right? Before he got traded?
It might have been. It might have been his Cy Young year. I forget.
Yeah.
Or did he win the Cy Young or finish second? I can't remember.
I don't think he won a Cy Young, but I think
he came real close.
Yeah.
Then they flipped him for Travis d'Arnaud, didn't they?
Yeah, Travis
d'Arnaud and a couple other guys.
Yeah, it was somebody else. d'Arnaud.
I mean, that was the type of trade
the
that
number one catcher at the time.
He was a top Phillies prospect. I think he got traded in the Halladay trade, if I remember right. Then the Toronto traded him to the Mets in the Dickey trade, and then next thing you know, he ended up all over. He's had, never the superstar they thought he could be, but he's been a good player. Obviously, he's contributed a lot to the Braves.
This is a story. I got a story to this, Battery Carlisle. So I am
working at Champ Sports, if you ever been in a mall in America, you know what a Champ Sports is. I used to sell shoes. I was an assistant manager and then a manager for a few years. I get a phone call from a friend of mine. Hey, got an extra ticket. You don't have to pay me now, but come on. We're going to Camden for Cal Ripken breaking the record. Oh, I can't. I got to go to work. How dumb was I?
Pretty fucking dumb.
I could have been there. I could have possibly clapped hands with him as he ran around the field. Hey, what's up, JD? I like the name change. Caught us off guard with that one. Oh, he did. His last year with the Mets, he did win. Okay. I should know that as being a Mets fan, but, I can't remember everything. 90s were a hell of a decade for me. So
as long as you remember to tie your shoes and, a few other things, you'll be all right.
I remember to pay the guy that sells me cards. So
eventually.
Sometimes I even pay him on the right platform, on the right way. And that's just my luck. Almost as dumb as when I was invited to play Augusta National Golf Club as a child. I said, but I have school on Monday. Yeah, there's some things so I was working in Iowa. Y'all know I'm a huge University of Virginia fan. Virginia's playing in the Final Four in Minneapolis. I'm 2 hours away. 2 hours. I could have got tickets for both nights. Probably paid less than $200 because there would have been upper deck, but I didn't care. But I had to work. And then my supervisor found out the night that we're watching the finals, or I'm going home. He goes, why didn't you go to the game, Scott? And I said, I had to work. He goes, oh, we would have figured something out. Son of a bitch. I was like,
I definitely don't regret back in 2008 being at Game 5 of the World Series, Part 1. And then obviously that game was suspended due to rain. And I remember I was like, I'm doing whatever I can if I'm scheduled to work. Because we didn't know if the game would be the next night or the following night.
Right.
I'm like, I'll do whatever I have to get out of work because I'm not missing the last few innings of that game.
I'm supposed to be at work. But, I've been to quite a few wrestling events and stuff like that. I've been, quite a few baseball games, just not many different parts. I've been to quite a few minor league games. I plan on going to more this year. I
got to go see the Binghamton Rumble Ponies. That's farmhand.
I would love to go to a home game of them because that way I know I'm going to a certain shop afterwards or before.
Right down the street.
That's right. Ferris Bueller pulled off a Cubs game. He sure did, and made it to the St. Patrick's Day parade. So I think it was a St. Patrick's Day parade in Ferris Bueller, wasn't it? What parade was it? He crashed. I thought it was a St. Patrick's Day parade. But anyway, safe Ferris. But anyway, any last words? Tonight has been all over the place. We talked about cards.
We're all about no regrets now. Now it's like reevaluating your life, making correct decisions. What sporting events should I see instead of doing something else I'm supposed to?
Right.
do.
And I mean, that's a lot why I'm on my budget kick right now, because I'd rather do some other things than just spend it on cardboard. I want to have memories and maybe some pictures to go with those memories that don't come in a package or in a box, right? So, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And, seeing parts of this making excuses to drive places, see parts of this country that I haven't seen. I said it before, that drive to and from Chicago, seeing Eastern Maryland and parts of Pittsburgh, right there. That was
taking a couple hour nap in Pittsburgh.
Right. That was some of the best.
Eating breakfast in Pittsburgh, having a guy who just randomly has a Bob Gibson rookie out of nowhere in Pittsburgh.
Showed us quite a few cards. We were like, yeah, we saw I think he wanted to sell it to us, but I was like, dude, I just spent all my money.
But he wasn't even like associated with the national, right? It was like random as hell. It was like, wait, what?
Oh, Amari, are you kidding me with this right now? Are you joking with me on this? Pulled a first Bowman Retrofractor Auto Johnny Bench Red 5. What should I do with it?
Give it to Big Scott 35 for free.
Ah, he's in this picture too. He's right. It's Yogi. It's Gary, Yogi, Johnny, Carlton Fisk. Wow.
That sounds like a very pricey card. So congrats on that one.
So yeah, good job with that. You can make a good, pretty dime on that one.
A pretty dime or an epic piece of the collection, you know.
I was looking.
Johnny Bench ain't going bad, unlike a lot of the other first Bowman guys.
Non-autographs, what they're going with for, and I have plenty of Johnny autographs, so I don't have any FOMO. Yeah, and Stamen, Wednesday, Thursday, 6 a.m. on ESPN, just to let everybody know. 6 a.m.
Oh, the last Let's Talk before baseball season is coming to an end.
Yes, and next week, hopefully. So, also another programming note. I'm going back to second shift starting tomorrow. I think for a week. I don't know how long though. I know I'm going back this week. I don't know what's happening after that. So hopefully next week I will be 9 o'clock so we can have all the friends on. Oh, did you? But you watch Boston, right? What other games are you going to watch, JD? You already get the Boston games. Are you just giving up on Boston already? I'm confused with them. I'm waiting for T-Mobile to come out with their deal. I'm killing me.
It's probably going to be I think it'll be next week. It's not going to.
Is it going to be this Tuesday's deals? They had some cool ones last week.
It'll probably be the following one. It'll be set up right before baseball season so people can sign up for it and be able to watch games within a few days.
Right. So, but anyway, 6 o'clock, Dodgers, Padres.
Baseball's back, baby.
And those two games are real. They're not preseason games. My dad said somebody was saying they're not. They're a season game. They'll come back and play more preseason before the season starts. And they'll probably have some of their squad back here playing while they're over there. Because they're not going to take all their pictures because they don't need to. What's up, Superstar? Reindeer Studios. Also, Reindeer Studios shorts and TikToks. He's doing those.
Bryce Harper, Diamond Kings for the
Diamond Kings. I posted on my group chats for my Philly fans. Beautiful card or pictures. My one question to you, Reindeer, and Reindeer, you're gonna be my number one guy when I start my road to the national. 10 weeks prior to the national, I'll text you. My one question is, I see you making a half moon in the back. Do all of them connect or something? Because they're not in the back. Are you also making a Diamond Kings puzzle at the same time that you're making the Diamond Kings? That's my one question. I just noticed it when you did I was looking at, because I watched the one with Pete Alonso several times. So I was just wondering. But with that being said, we'll let y'all go. We'll be back on, like I said, 9 o'clock next week. We'll be doing the preseason show, talking about baseball and baseball cards, and hopefully we'll have more of the friends on than just me and Mike.
Hopefully, I get some rest before then, because just for your information, not that anyone's going to care, but I have been pacing back and forth during the entirety of this video, so I've now eclipsed. I'm approaching 33,000 steps today, so if I don't sleep good tonight, then there's something really wrong.
Oh, okay, I got you. I was like, if he connects all these together and it makes like a puzzle, I'm gonna be like, this dude's a genius. He's already a genius in my mind, but that would be cool. now I'm mad at myself. Now I'm made at myself for not doing that. Mad, I would think. But yeah. So anyway, till next time, check out. Thank you, Hodges. Appreciate that, man. Much love, brother, or sister. I don't know. Enjoy listening as always. Me and my dad. Tomorrow I'll be releasing that. I think at 8 a.m.
What's on the docket for tomorrow?
My dad just talking. He freaked out a little bit because he thought that Fubo, whatever that streaming service, actually bought the rights to the Nationals and Baltimore. And hey, Vintage Eyeball, if you want to come on, you hit me up on. I have my about page. You email me. I don't think I have you. We might be friends on Facebook, but you get in touch with me some way, and you can definitely be on to talk baseball. I need a West Coast guy. But he freaked out because it said, and he was reading it, and he didn't quite understand that Fubo just had the rights to have it on their streaming service, Masson on their streaming service. And he got confused. He was all upset. I was like, and it freaked me out because I was like, well, we know that's the way it's going to go, right? Like, they're going to have streaming services for these games locally because they've already, I think 8 teams are going to be where you have to pay extra to watch the games on your local service. So we're already kind of going in that direction, but he was really freaking out. But
so predictions with Pops
next
week then, right?
Next week, yeah, same thing. Monday. I love doing that. It's a thing we have always done in our family anyway. Me and my sister and him, we sit down to get into baseball and football season and give our picks and seeing how close we are. So it's always a fun thing we've done. And we'll probably talk about, comeback players, Cy Young, somebody we outside the norm that might, that was actually doing something. I'm looking forward as a preview of that, Kelenic with the Braves. I just feel like it's going to be.
He's got to turn things around mightily from what he's done this spring. I think he's been in quite the rut.
Yeah, but I think there's some good candidates for comeback players of the year. I feel like we're in for another great season. I'm excited. I didn't know I would like the additions of the playoff teams, but it really made the season just the whole season great. And the playoffs last year was awesome, and my team sucked. So,
your adopted team did a good job, though. So,
I think Cy Young is going to win the Cy Young. What's my adopted? Baltimore?
I was just joking with you became a Diamondbacks fan.
Yeah, that's just because they were playing Philly, and then
no, the Orioles were a bit of a disappointment in the playoffs, but the excitement of that season was obviously incredible. And listen, this time last year we were saying, the Orioles, they could probably compete. They might be able to compete for a wild card spot. They should be able to bounce up to 85 wins. No one really thought they were going to win over 100, and they did. So
you just don't know. Hodges? Okay, thank you for that. I have T-Mobile. I've been waiting. I'm sitting here. Somebody told me to cancel my shit this year, and I'm like, excuse my language.
Someone was trying to save you some dollar bills.
Yeah, I know, man. I know, and I appreciate you. That's gonna be my money to go to. That's $100 and some. That's my Atlanta trip. Okay, thank you, Hodges, so much. Yes. So, so enjoy the season. Next week, we'll dive in. I'm sure it's going to be a long one. Please, Rick, don't be teasing me now. Contact me, or I'll try to contact you. I'll text Reindeer.
I feel like there's a pretty good chance.
Scott has my number. Don has my number. Lou Rock has my number. Jason has my number. So any of those can give you my cell phone number, or I can get it from them if it's okay with you. But anyway, so we'll have that Wednesday. Show you my pickups. It's more than just Pete Alonso's this time. Sounds good, Rick. And then Saturday, who knows what I'll talk about? Or I might show off my card room, my area. I don't know. Or I might show off some Z Folios. I've started a new thing, and I'm really excited to show it off with one of my Z Folios. So what I've done so far, I think it's pretty cool. I haven't seen anybody else do it. It's just something that I'm having fun with. So until next time, like, share, welcome all new people to the channel. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. I feel like I have some good angles. I try to be funny, witty. I'm not the smartest man on earth.
All you can ask is for someone to try, and you try.
Right. And, I show off, and I love this hobby. So until next time, see ya.
Peace.